Welcome to this explainer. Today we're unpacking a chain reaction that is honestly so unexpected, it perfectly highlights just how vulnerable our modern world really is. We're going to trace a domino effect that literally begins with a desperate military explosion in a major European river and cascades all the way into a massive global infrastructure crisis. The world is changing, and our power grids, well, they're caught right in the crosshairs of extreme weather. So let's pull back the curtain and see exactly how climate, cooling systems, and our critical energy grids are colliding in real time. All right, let's jump right in. We're starting our journey on the Danube River. That's Europe's second longest waterway. Recently, the Romanian Navy took what I can only describe as a completely bizarre and incredibly desperate measure. They actually deployed explosives to blow up rocks at a section where the river splits. Why? Simply to force whatever little water was left to flow down the main branch. I mean, think about that for a second. When a nation's military is out there detonating rocks just to save their power grid, you know for sure you're looking at an infrastructure emergency of massive proportions. The official statements made the stakes crystal clear. They said, our forces will work shoulder to shoulder with the hope that by Tuesday it will have the desired effect to help the Cernavoda nuclear power plant. So yeah, this extreme naval operation had absolutely nothing to do with clearing shipping lanes. It was 100% focused on rushing water to a nuclear facility. Because, as it turns out, nuclear reactors require a constant, massive flow of river water just to safely cool their systems. Without the Danube, that plant was facing a critical overheating threat. And this perfectly illustrates the incredibly fragile domino effect of our energy infrastructure. It's a simple but totally devastating sequence. First, you get a severe drought that causes river levels to plummet. That leads directly to step 2, insufficient cooling water reaching the plant's intake valves. And finally, step 3, the facility is forced to power down. In Romania's case, one unit had to be shut down completely, and a second had to run in restricted mode. Basically, a lack of rain literally translates to a lack of electricity.
Now, if we move further upstream into Hungary, the situation on the ground is just as dire. Listen to this reaction from a local resident who said, I was born in 1975. We haven't seen such a low water state yet. It's really shocking. People are actually traveling just to see this with their own eyes. These historically low water levels have exposed massive sandbanks right across the Danube, which is devastating the local ecosystem and stunning people who've lived by this river their entire lives. But you know what? The human shock is really only half the story.
What's truly wild here is the staggering scale of this vulnerability. This localized drought is actually a massive national crisis for Hungary. Why? Because the Soviet-era Pax power plant, which also totally relies on the Danube for its cooling water, generates an incredible 50% of the country's entire energy supply. Half of an entire European nation's power grid relies on a single river maintaining its normal water levels. So the really crucial thing to grasp here is the sheer volume of power at risk. Under normal conditions, this vital facility pumps out 2,000 megawatts of power at full capacity. To put that number into perspective, that is enough electricity to continuously run almost 2 million homes. It has literally been the beating heart of Hungary's electrical infrastructure since the 1980s. But today, because of the vanishing river water, that output has plummeted to a meager 10% of its capacity. 10%. The government even announced the plant is on the brink of a total shutdown. And honestly, the timing couldn't possibly be worse. This massive drop in electricity generation hit exactly when the region was facing a punishing heat wave, with temperatures soaring over 40 degrees Celsius, right when the public, the grid, and everyday citizens needed cooling the absolute most. Naturally, the economic fallout from this kind of grid failure ripples out incredibly fast. Romania actually had to declare a state of emergency for the entire month of August. Major car makers like Ford and Dacia had to halt production for weeks just to save power. Down in northern Serbia, cargo and passenger ships are literally stranded in the mud, which is dragging down the shipping economy and crippling tourism. Meanwhile, Hungary is forced to desperately import twice as much electricity from its neighbors at absolutely soaring costs. And the financial toll of this whole domino effect? It's staggering. In Hungary alone, experts are warning that these power cuts could set the economy back by over $600 million. That massive number comes from a brutal combination of reduced agricultural output, frozen industrial activity, and the painfully high cost of buying emergency power on the international market, all because one river is running dry. Section 1. Europe's new climate reality. The heat behind the drought. To really understand why these mighty rivers are vanishing, we have to pull back and look at the sheer heat baking Europe, which is currently the world's fastest warming continent. The lack of water is really just a symptom. The aggressive driver here is the overwhelming heat and the devastating wildfires it's spawning. Take Attica, Greece, for example. It is so dry there that fires are exploding completely unpredictably. One local volunteer pointed out just how desperate it is, saying, "The wind is very strong and keeps changing direction. The firefighters who are trained and experienced can't contain it. How can we?" It got so bad that everyday villagers were running out to beat back the flames using nothing but olive branches. And even when those flames are eventually put out, the human toll is just absolute. Across France and Spain, massive evacuations were required. We're talking 200,000 people evacuated in the Bordeaux region alone. As the fires there finally eased, families returned, probably thinking they had just fled some smoke, only to find their homes completely reduced to rubble. As one evacuee heartbreakingly put it, there is nothing to show for their old lives. In this extreme dry spell, it doesn't respect borders. It's breaking historical records across the English Channel, too. If you look at rainfall records stretching all the way back to their official start in 1836, the sheer scale of this becomes clear. We saw a real tragic increase in heatwave-related deaths in May and June. And by July, it officially became the driest July on record. An astonishing 19 English counties recorded effectively zero rainfall, measuring 1 millimeter or less across the entire month. The heat is so severe now that it's fundamentally changing how national services operate. With amber heat health alerts blanketing the region, the UK's National Health Service received a pretty stark new directive. Just think about this for a second. They've been told to prepare for extreme summer heat with the exact same urgency and resource allocation that they usually reserve for peak winter flu crises. Summer heat is now officially a premier public health threat. But if we zoom out from Europe, we quickly see this isn't just a continental issue, it's a massive global crisis. In the western U.S., wildfires in Washington state burned through 390 square miles, forcing 60,000 evacuations and destroying 600 buildings. At the exact same time in East Asia, South Korea suffered 14 heat-related deaths by mid-May, and the city of Yangsan hit 42.5 degrees Celsius. That marked the country's hottest day since records began over a century ago. Yet what is perhaps most fascinating and definitely most tragic about this new climate reality is the extreme duality of it all. While Europe and East Asia are suffering through crippling droughts, vanishing rivers, and unprecedented heat, other parts of the world are literally drowning. In the northeastern Indian state of Assam, heavy monsoon rains swelled the mighty Brahmaputra River, causing deadly flooding that claimed 85 lives and completely ruined 38,000 acres of vital farmland. We are basically oscillating violently between way too little water and way too much. As we witness all these interconnected global disasters, from the Romanian Navy blasting rocks in a desperate bid for water, to European power grids collapsing, all the way to catastrophic flooding in India, we really have to look closely at our own backyards. The main takeaway here is that our modern comfort relies entirely on nature behaving the way it used to. So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. When extreme weather dries up the rivers that cool our critical power grids, just how prepared is your local infrastructure for this new climate reality? Thanks so much for exploring this explainer with me today. Stay curious, and I'll catch you in the next one.